Hi everyone, I wanted to talk to you about week 9 and some of the big takeaways that we had originally intended to do in class, but we're going to do kind of in this wrap up video tonight. Week 9 was the culminating experience of our mission 2, and my plan was twofold. The first part was to kind of tease out some more information really about mission 1, and then also kind of wrap things up for mission 2. So, as I had said in the email that I sent out this week, that the way this course was designed was that more of the content makes more sense as we continue to grow throughout the course. And so some of the things that we did during mission 1 might seem kind of nonsensical, but as we continue to build, they start to make more sense. So, for instance, in mission 1, our whole goal was to understand visual culture of the 21st century and what that experience of visual culture is. Right? So, what does it mean to live visuals and images inundated in our everyday life? Right. So, if you think back to the lectures and discussions we had, we talked about things like the arts, memes, culture online, those kinds of things, right? And then you did achievements in visual art, reading, collections, and nature. And on the surface, it might seem like, wow, these are very disconnected ideas. Why am I talking about a collection of, things that I have at home or looking at nature and then looking at visual art? How does this all fit together, right? And by design, it was meant to be kind of piecemeal because it's a puzzle that comes together to really explain what it means to be a 21st century person, right? So the interesting thing is that if you had gone back 30 or 40 years in time and you had asked, like a young Aaron Lawler, for instance, I was born in 1980, or if you asked somebody around that time period what the 21st century was going to look like, we would have thought of flying cars and this really futuristic lifestyle. Some of this stuff has come true, right? Like some of the things that we imagined did come true, but then a lot didn't. And remember, the purpose of the course is to understand the 21st century. Well, we live pretty regular lives. Yes, we've got cell phones and we're connected to the internet. There's all these really great advancements in technology that people would never have known about in the 1980s or 1990s. But then the other stuff is still the same, right? Like, we still have a lot of our physical culture in a very similar way, right? So that was the goal. The goal of 21st century understanding of the visual world includes like the physical world, not just the virtual world. All right, so that's piece one to the puzzle. And the next mission is all about technology and our experience with technology. Now, this is not a tech class, right? So, like, we didn't learn coding. We're not going to learn about like how technology ticks or the engineering. What we're looking at is how do we experience technology in the 21st century, right? And so the four big themes were journalism, game design, geocaching, and inventing. And one of those big takeaways is that technology has changed all these fields and the way we experience the world, right? So, journalism has been greatly impacted by how technology works, and we spent some time talking about that in class. We had some really lively debates. We also spent some time kind of distracted a little bit talking about my dissertation, but my dissertation was actually based on how those kinds of things work, right? Like how did technology impact our daily culture, and including journalism, right? Then we spent some time talking about game design. Game design is near and dear to my heart because this entire class is based on game design. But game design is this based on what's known as game theory, or the mathematical and the structural premises of how a game operates. And that is meant to mimic society. It also mimics the way we operate, right? We've talked about this several times with the course, and then we explored that in class. And you actually had a chance to start doing some game design in class. You'll note in the grade book that you have some grade points for game design, the achievement for game design. You're free to finish up the game design achievement if you want to get all the points for it, or you're free to just take those as bonus points. Either way is fine by me. Then we also had this really great geocaching exploration. Thanks to Mandy for helping out with that. And geocaching is this really interesting idea of a large platform game that's global, and it incorporates the virtual world along with the physical world, right? So again, looking at how 21st century life works, both virtually and physically. Then the last one is inventing, which we're going to work on this week, but we never really got a chance to do it. So along with our raid, part of the points that you would have gotten would have been considered inventing, right? So we're going to finish up this week now, just kind of talking about this last piece of our technological experience in the world today. So I was going to start with a discussion, just really briefly, that in the 21st century, right? So in the next 50 years, our technological growth based on speed and power is going to be a quadrillion times faster and stronger. So just within 50 years, so in the next 50 years, we're going to it's going to be a quadrillion times faster and stronger. That's um, mind-boggling. That number is actually not possible for humans to grapple in their head. We can look at the zeros, but you could never imagine quadrillion. Like that's such a large number, right? So, what does that mean for modern day society? What does that mean for what we're going to live through today? Well, it means that the way we're going to live is going to be drastically different, right? So those things that I thought about when I was a kid about how futuristic society is going to be, that is going to come true in a lot of ways in the next 50 years. So there's a handful of ways that we're going to look at that. So the first way is UX. What is UX? UX is user experience, right? So how does the user going to use a quadrillion times faster and stronger data processing machines? So in a lot of ways, those machines are going to work for us and do things that we already do, and they're going to replace us, right? So if you consider things like the algorithms that Netflix and Amazon use, so they can predict what kind of movie you want to watch next, or what products you're going to have shipped to your house, right? Those algorithms are going to get that much stronger and that much faster to the point where the wonder is, are you going to actually have any choice, or are these things going to take over? That goes into AI, right? So artificial intelligence and also artificial consciousness or artificial thinking. So we already have AI, right? We already have artificial intelligence. Siri, Alexa, um, Google, they all can predict and can do things in an intelligent way, right? Like they can respond and they can process information in an intelligent way. Now, what they don't have is self awareness and they don't have consciousness, right? So where we are conscious beings, computers are intelligent beings, right? In fact, they're smarter than us in a lot of ways, right? Like they can calculate things and do calculus way faster than we can and way better than we can with great accuracy. Robots are way better at building things than we are. They don't break down, they don't get tired, they don't have emotional issues with their family, right? They can just make a car and do what they're supposed to do without breaks. So they're way better at these things, right? So computers and robots are way better at certain mechanical tasks and mechanical ways of thinking. What they're bad at is social, right? So like if you see like androids and you can like Google this or YouTube this, you'll see that those androids are really bad at mimicking human expression. They're really bad at answering questions in unique and creative ways that don't sound already pre-recorded. It's why we get so frustrated when you call like a helpline and you get a robot. It doesn't have the ability to be conscious, right? It can process data, but it can't really think about that data, right? But a quadrillion times faster, that means we will be able to achieve some level of artificial consciousness. But what does that mean for our future, right? Like, what does that mean for even today as we're trying to develop that? There are some ethical issues, right? So that leads to what is known as robot rights, which we tend to think, oh, that's like sci-fi movie stuff. Absolutely not. In 2017, Saudi Arabia gave Sophia, a robot, citizenship. I encourage you to Google this. It's a fascinating story. So Saudi Arabia, a country that hasn't really extended full rights to its one half the gender, right? Like have not extended full rights to women, gave citizenship, right? Gave citizenship to a robot named Sophia. Now here's the interesting thing about Sophia. Go ahead and look her up. She's not artificially conscious. She's barely artificially intelligent, but she's very clever at mimicking it. She appears to be this because she's been loaded with just millions and millions of phrases and ideas. And so she's very much like Siri, and then they gave her a face, and Saudi Arabia got tricked basically into giving her rights. So we tend to think, well, this is futuristic stuff. This is 50 years away. Why are we talking about it today? Because just a few years ago, 2017, this was already being debated. The ethics of rights have been applied now to artificial intelligence. So how does this happen, right? Like, how do we get to the point where we're at today? Well, one of the ideas is that the people who write the fictional stories of the past about the future basically influence the future, right? So people like Bradbury and Orwell and Isaac Asimov, who were writing science fiction stories in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, because of the way they wrote those stories, young engineers read those stories, became inspired, and then they developed things like cell phone technology and propulsion units for space travel and these kinds of things. Right? You read the science fiction of the past and it becomes science truth of the future. So the question is, we're here, right? And we're living with a lot of this like AI stuff, and we're living with like user experiences. Like, what does it mean to use things? And how is our experience like when we interact with our cell phone? How is it designed? So the question becomes, okay, so how does this lead to the future? And there's a couple places we can look. So I encourage you to look up two things. The first thing I encourage you to look for is the a YouTube clip about Tony Stark's dad um, from the Iron Man movies um, talking about the future. His footage, I was going to show this in class, so I encourage you to look this up. His footage is very similar to the way the Walt Disney was talking about Epcot in the 1960s. And so much so that Walt Disney's ideas of what Epcot would be influenced the Iron Man movies. Well, okay, those are Iron Man movies, they're not real, right? Well, the Iron Man movies are influencing us today, right? A lot of the technologies that are being in those Iron Man movies are trying to be created. Jet propulsion units, jet packs, holographic technologies, interactive technologies, all from those Iron Man movies, which were inspired by that Disney film, are trying to become real. And I know that because of a film called Minority Report. So if you've never seen the movie Minority Report, this is a phenomenal film. Not because of its plot or because of Tom Cruise who stars in it. I mean, that's fine. But because of why it was created and how it was created. Steven Spielberg actually hosted a summit where he brought futurists, engineers, technologists from all over the country to predict what technology would look like and then use that to create his movie Minority Report. So if you go watch this film, and this movie is a decade old now, go watch this film and you'll see a lot of those emergent technologies are actually starting to come true, right? Like we're starting to see like the holographic technologies that were used then. We're starting to see some of the predictive technologies. The stuff that was talked about in Minority Report are becoming a reality. So if you look at this experience of technology for us, it is very much how we're moving from today to the future at a really exponential rate. And then how are we using things like fiction and the humanities, the arts, to create the future technologies that we're going to use, right? So now to piece this back together, mission one was all about the visual experience, which is a very humanities question. Mission two is all about the technological experience, which isn't always in the humanities domain, right? But if you think of it in this way, that art creates the science that we use from the future, it's a really kind of beautiful way of thinking about things. So those are the big takeaways for mission two. So I highly recommend that you go look at some of these YouTube videos, and I'll post these in the Blackboard. I hope you enjoyed talking about technology as much as I did, and I'll be talking to you soon. Thanks.